I guess my concern is because they're now third generation of like, every time there's a new console, like we have a new service and start over again.
Yeah.
Like, I hope their next console is just a continuation of the Switch. Because if they go to another console and be like, okay, 6 months in, here you go, Super Mario World. Like, no.
Not again.
Not again. Don't start over again.
Oh, man.
Hello and welcome to episode 77 of Rhythm Encounter, the RPG fan music podcast. I'm your host, Mike Salvato, and today we're talking about our favorite music of the year for 2021. I know it's 2022, but hey, this is how we're doing it. So alongside of me, joining me today are three co-hosts. So first we have Hillary Andriff.
Hi.
Longtime music. Oh boy, what's the best word to describe Pat? Music what? Maestro.
Guru?
What? Guru. Oh, I like Guru.
Guru works.
Yeah, Patrick Gann is here.
Hey, everybody.
And last but not least, we have Peter Triesenberg as well.
Hello.
Peter's here too.
Peter is here too. Peter gets the and credit. Okay. And also starring. That's an important role.
Yeah, right. I'm the Angelina Jolie of this podcast.
Okay, we're done. Nothing we're going to say is going to be better than that. Anyway, yeah, so we're talking about our favorite music of the year. So today's episode is going to deviate a little bit from the norm because since it's music of the year and such an important thing, we wanted everyone to be able to bring on a little more music than normal. So we're changing the balance a little bit, so there'll be a little bit more music and a little bit less of us, which I think is okay. We couldn't, even between the four of us, we're like, we can't choose like just 8.
Music first.
Music first.
Yeah.
Music first, people second.
Yeah. When you're looking over a whole year's worth of music, I mean, it was already hard enough to limit it, but it's going to be a lot of music on this episode to listen to, and we hope everyone enjoys it, and hopefully some of the music that you liked from the last year gets some representation here, though I suspect we can't please everyone. So feel free to throw feedback our way on songs you loved or soundtracks you loved that we failed to put into this episode.
We did not fail anything.
There's just too much to choose from.
I mean, several years ago, we didn't impose any limits on anyone. And then we had, 4 or 5 hour episodes, which were good episodes, but boy, that's a lot of listening. So we didn't want to make anyone listen to that.
So this is the start of an ongoing conversation about good music this year.
Yeah.
And this is stuff we wanted to highlight personally.
Also, this is kind of just a little side note, but I noticed this, and it's really a complete coincidence, but we have a list of all the songs that have ever been on the show from the beginning, and it just so happens that as of this episode, we've hit the 1,000 songs mark.
Woohoo!
Since the beginning of the podcast.
Nice.
I love that.
Yeah, it's very cool. So I think if we get really technical, it's somewhere around like, if you go in order, it's like the 5th or 6th song of this episode is the 1,000th song or something. I don't know. Anyway, I think we should talk about music. So what we're doing today, because everyone brought on 3 songs, instead of doing thematic groups, we're actually just grouping them by person. So our first person today to introduce some songs will be Peter. So what is your music of the year, Peter?
Yeah, so my 3 picks for this episode are, first up is Endwalker, the 7-inch vinyl single by Masayoshi Soken, the PRIMALS, and Sam Carter. It's the main theme for Final Fantasy XIV, Endwalker. Village Pride from TPR's To the End of the World, which is a melancholy tribute to Xenogears. And Battle Dot, which is the initial battle theme by Ryota Kozuka from Shin Megami Tensei 5.
All right. Sounds good. I've randomly decided that I'm going to switch the order of those around on you.
Okay.
So we're going to listen to Endwalker, Battle, and Village Pride. So let's go listen to those and come back and talk about them.
Yeah, so Endwalker. I believe the full song on the soundtrack is titled Footfalls, or at least that's the fan name for it.
No, there's two versions.
Oh, there are. Okay.
Footfalls is the trailer version that has the other themes from the other expansions in the song.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Whereas this is the shorter version that was released as a vinyl single. Both versions are great. I just figured this one was a little more concise. Plus, this was our first look at the song because I think this was in the initial teaser trailer. And this song is really good. And one of the things I really love about it actually is that I recognize the vocalist. This is a rare cross-pollination of my interests because Sam Carter is from a band called Architects, which is a British metalcore band that I really, really like. It was, and it took me very much by. It was a very pleasant surprise recognizing that voice for Final Fantasy XIV, and it works really well. It's just such an uplifting song. I find this is just it's dramatic. It's thematically on point. The lyrics talking about we're gonna forge ahead to the end and all that. Very appropriate considering that Endwalker is the end of the main saga of Final Fantasy XIV, the one they've been telling for a decade now. And of course, Masayoshi Soken and the Primals, his band, they're no stranger to doing rock and roll stuff. So this is just their element. This is just such a really, really intense and awesome song. I really enjoy it. What do you guys think?
I'm being pointed at.
Well, someone's got to go next.
Something that I really appreciate about most of Soken's rock versions and rock tracks with 14 is just how meticulously constructed they are, and this is definitely in that vein. Just everything feels like it has its place. The way the song builds up, the instrumentation, and working the guest vocalist in just absolutely seamlessly. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I would need a lot more time than I'm giving myself to talk about how much I like this song and the number of times I've listened to it. But I like that the song has this kind of quiet strength to it. It doesn't really, it's about the midpoint where it actually really kicks in, which, maybe I'm reading too much into it, but that really works and coincides with the game itself. Just the way the story progresses, and then there's some stuff that happens in the midpoint and it just builds and builds towards the end. Mm-hmm. So the lyrics of the song, but even just musically, the way it plays out really fits along with Endwalker. So whatever. I always think Soken is brilliant, but this just continues to cement that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I know he knows his stuff.
Yeah. Didn't Soken pass a record for the most music ever written for a single game a while back?
Several years ago, he won a Guinness World Record. Yeah,
and he just keeps going.
Yep.
So 14's library of music is insane, and Soken is a genius. I'll just quickly say, as a Final Fantasy XIV outsider, in the sense that I haven't really played the game much at all, and I suspect you guys all have. So I don't even know what's going on with Endwalker. I just know the series music. I really like the sound and the soundscape that the Primals as a band have made. I think it's more accessible than a lot of the other Japanese rock bands that are focused on video game music, JDK Band or the Black Mages or other groups like that. We're actually going to be looking at another one from my selection soon.
I miss the Black Mages.
It gets even more accessible or friendly to what people know of rock sound, in my opinion, because of Sam Carter. So it steps it up another notch to it almost feels radio friendly, and I don't mean that in the bad sense. I mean it in I'd be okay with this winning a Grammy kind of sense.
It's the kind of song that you can introduce to someone who doesn't think video game music is anything they would be interested in.
Oh boy!
Yeah, that's exactly what I meant.
And then you surprise them and be like, "Guess what this is from?"
Final Fantasy XIV.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's what I really like about it. It's that good and it's that accessible.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I agree.
Yeah, for sure. My final plug for this song is if you like the lyrics in this song, go listen to Sam Carter's band Architects because they are awesome. Moving on to the second pick, Battle Dot is the first battle theme in Shin Megami Tensei 5. It plays during the initial area of the game, like that kind of like post-apocalyptic desert environment that it looks kind of like a microcosm of Shin Megami Tensei Nocturne's overworld map. You have like skyscrapers jutting out of weird places, like Inception style, and there are these heavenly spheres all throughout the sky, like the husks of dead planets. And everything is just serene and melancholy and wind-swept, and you're kind of thrown into the middle of it, here to recruit some demons and try to figure out what the heck is going on. I think this song captures that blend of fantasy and technology that Shin Megami Tensei is known for, how it's got the dramatic chorus intermixed with like electric guitars and this kind of like high octane energy. And also, it's not in the... Unfortunately, I couldn't find a rip that included this, but one thing I really like that this game does is that pre-battle, before you select any commands, the music is instead the sound of electric guitars tuning up, like a band getting ready, so it's just that like hum. And then the song kicks into gear once you pick your first command and start the battle. And I just really, really love that.
That's so cool. I didn't know about that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just some effect that is sort of post-production in the game, or will those sort of like pre-battle versions of the music appear on the full soundtrack, which isn't due to release until March of this year. There's
Right.
there's a 2-disc version that's out in both America and Japan, I think, but there's like a full, I want to say 6-disc version coming out in March, so we can hope it'll be on there, that pre-music alongside the main battle theme.
I'm curious too. It sounds like one of those things, like a lot of people are doing interesting stuff with dynamic music in games these days.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I say these days, but it's been going for a little while. But
Yeah.
I wonder if that's what that is.
It's a slightly different way to use it, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, you haven't made your choice yet, so...
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
So, yeah, it's interesting. Listening to it, I could definitely get the sense and could definitely tell that it was kind of like an early battle area music, which is nice that it sort of has that recognizable signature. And that chanting really got me. Like, a lot of my notes were kind of wondering what was happening in the game, like during that interlude, if they maybe somehow timed that with something.
Yeah, I mean, is that something that dynamically changes too, or no?
No, it doesn't really do that, but it does really suit when like the battle finishes and your party. It does like this little sweeping shot of your party before it goes to the experience menu. So in a way, it doesn't like change dynamically, but it does kind of fit that. I feel like where it's like that burst of intensity followed by tranquility.
Okay.
The guy who does the SMT5 soundtrack is Ryota Kozuka, who I believe also did the music for Shin Megami Tensei 4 and 4 Apocalypse. I think he's sort of become the series' Meguro replacement now that Meguro has left Atlas. And I think he does a good job. I think he really captures the series' essence with his music.
Mm-hmm.
My suspicion is that even with Meguro leaving Atlas officially, my guess is that, should a Persona 6 come by anytime soon, they'll still contract Meguro to be on. I feel like Meguro's really shifted to being very Persona specific, and Kozuka has sort of taken the lead composition role for like mainline SMT.
It seems
that's my
way.
guess.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that.
Mm-hmm.
He did also lend a hand with Persona 4 and 5, right?
Yeah, I didn't know him like by name, so I did look him up, and his first credit is Persona 4.
Yeah, he's been with Atlas for over a decade,
Yeah.
but he can increasingly had a strong presence with the SMT franchise, and he's been lead composer on 4 and 5 now. So
Nice.
And moving on to the final pick, Village Pride. So In general, I could have picked any song from this album because TPR is just excellent. I've loved them for years, and I tend to use them as background music whenever I'm writing or reading or just doing stuff around the house because it's just very chill. And really, the main thing I like about this song is that Xenogears has excellent music. And Village Pride is sort of the beginning song. It's in the first town, and it's a very peppy, upbeat, like the kind of song you'd expect from a JRPG hometown. And I like how this album really takes that and turns it into not a sad song per se, but a much more downbeat, tranquil piano tune. Like I really love TPR's ability to take these songs and transpose them to a new instrument and give them a new vibe without really losing the song's essence.
It doesn't matter if the song was originally a battle theme, a happy town theme, doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
It's funny though, like for me, like I've listened to a lot of TPR, and despite the fact that this is, as usual, a melancholy tribute to a game, I don't find this one as somber as a lot of TPR songs. Like it's definitely more down, and tranquil is a good word for it, like you said. But I think some of the notes on the piano were still a little bit higher, and it still has a little bit of that positivity and energy of the original, which was actually surprising to me. Because, I mean, obviously I have no problem with TPR, but it was not as quote unquote melancholy as I was expecting. And I don't know, it was a fun surprise.
It's really, really hard to make that melody any less upbeat, I think.
Yeah.
This is as far down as you can take it.
Yeah, that source material just has a brightness to it that you can't do away with.
You can't crush it.
All right, you're at a 6, but I need you at a 2.
Yeah, right.
Village Pride has a light that can't. There's a Kingdom Hearts quote, isn't there, Peter? There's got to be something.
But I know now, without a doubt, that Village Pride is light.
All right,
that feels so good. Yeah, TPR's been doing stuff for I want to say a decade, maybe more. And this Xenogears album totally flew under the radar for me. It was only in prepping for this podcast episode that I even listened to this album, and thinking back to like TPR's early works and comparing it to now, like there's a consistency in like the soundscape, but there's a clear maturity in the style of arrangement that's been building over release to release to release, and this is really surprisingly good.
Yeah.
And if TPR is going to stick with more like Square Enix releases, like there's plenty more to go, and I just want to shout out Do Vagrant Story, Do Vagrant Story.
Oh,
that'd be great.
I think he's announced that he's either retiring the bit for a little bit or taking a long break, which is understandable because he's been doing the same bit for years.
Yeah.
But he also said that, I think he said that about his Mario Galaxy album last year, and then he did Xenogears this year. So who knows? Maybe he'll find the inspiration.
Well, thank you, TPR, for all the lovely albums.
Yes.
And you're absolutely right, Pat. When I was listening to it, I was thinking back to some of the early Final Fantasy albums and kind of comparing and contrasting. And there's some finesse here. It's really neat to see.
All right. I think we're ready to move on to Pat's stuff. If you're ready, Pat.
Sure. I picked Besessenheit, which is a German word that means possession, which is a song from SaGa Frontier 2, originally composed by Masashi Hamauzu. But this is the arrangement by Noriyuki Kamikura, done by the band Destiny 8 on the album Destiny 8 SaGa Band Arrangement Album Volume 2. After that, we have a song called Norse Wind from the IX Monstrum NOX soundtrack by Mitsuo Singa, part of the Falcom Sound Team JDK crew. And I also picked Earth or Sky Day Version by Kan Gao, aka Reeves, from the Impostor Factory original soundtrack.
All right. So we're going to go listen. Oh boy. How is it again? Besessenheit?
Besessenheit, yeah.
Oof. All right. Besessenheit, Norse Wind, and Earth or Sky.
All right, so that was an awesome block, or at least I think so, because these are my picks. First one that comes up, I have a review of Volume 1, the first Destiny 8 album. They managed to put out 2 albums in 2021, and in fact, in the last year or so, there's been more SaGa arrange albums than I can keep track of, even though I think I own them all, because I'm a SaGa fanatic. And there's just been so much good stuff happening here. Of all the SaGa music released in the last year, though, I had to feature this one for 2 reasons. One is Besessenheit is my favorite battle theme from SaGa Frontier 2, and maybe my favorite battle theme like in any SaGa game, and I think this is the first time Square Enix has ever done an official arrangement of it. It generally gets overlooked for Mischgestalt and Todesengel and all of the generic Feldschlacht battle themes from SaGa Frontier 2. This one just tends to just get passed over, and I think I know why. If you listen to the original soundtrack version, like, there's just a lot of stuff going on electronically that's hard to recreate, but Destiny 8 really knocked it out of the park, both maintaining a lot of that source material stuff that's going on, and then also just turning it into an incredible rock song. It's the sort of synth electronic, almost dancey kind of sound to it, mixed in with the rock band, which features actually Kenji Ito, who composed a lot of SaGa music, but famously not SaGa Frontier 2. That was where Masashi Hamauzu stepped in. And Noriyuki Kamikura, who's the lead arranger for all of Destiny 8, he's also in the band. They're the 2 keyboard players. And yeah, it's a 6-person outfit. I feel like it should have been an 8-person outfit, but whatever. I don't know why the number 8's there if there's only 6 people, but whatever. This is just an incredible track. It's track 8 on the album. I'm sure sometime after this podcast goes up, I will be writing a review for this whole album. I do think Volume 2 is better than the first volume that they put out, and this song is just indicative of the quality of this band's work. And they did one live concert that was a virtual live concert in 2021, and I hope they'll get to do live concerts with audiences sometime in the near future, because I would really like to see that for myself.
Yeah, definitely. That piano in that song is incredible.
Right?
Oh my God.
The whole melody I like. I'm going to listen with what you said, I want to listen to the original now. I'm curious how and why it's so different, but I love the melody, the guitar, and just, again, that piano. I can't get over that. That's just amazing.
I could see this being like a crowd favorite at a live concert, so I really hope they get to perform it for big audiences.
Yeah, I love the there's sort of this interplay between the keyboards and the guitars, and then as the song progresses, they sort of blend, so the melody just becomes synchronous. And I just, I was really bopping to this.
Yeah,
it's so good.
The piano basically mimics what the piano was in the OST version, and the guitar lead was like a string ensemble synth in the OST version. And then there really was no percussion in the original version, so the drums add a big difference as well. And so I think, again, as a rock band version of a very different kind of song, just a really incredible thing going on here. And I'm just so glad they picked it again. For someone like me who's big on, hearing all the good music represented in this one has just been passed over time and time again with various SaGa Arrange albums and Square Enix doing pull from other properties albums like the SQ series and stuff like that, that they've just never done this, and then finally they did. It was very exciting for me. Okay, so the next one I picked, also a high energy track. I think I talked about Ys 9 last year because the game came out in Japan last year, and the soundtrack came out, I think, tail end of 2020. So yeah, I already had some familiarity with it, but I used the fact that it came out in 2021 in America as my free pass to pick music from it again.
That's part of the rules. You're allowed.
Yeah. Ys 9, I think anyone who's been following our site and my own written work on the RPG fan music section knows Falcom tends to keep things high quality. They've been high quality from day one. They very rarely have dips below that, and the East series particularly has just been coming at us with, really powerful rock anthems for both sort of intense, peppy environmental themes and then also battle themes. I thought that was really the case with Ys 8, and I was like, well, they can't step it up from there. Like, Ys 8 was an incredible OST. And then they went and stepped it up with Ys 9. So that's how I feel about Norse Wind as a song, and it's also how I feel about the entire Ys 9 soundtrack.
So it's kind of like representative.
Yeah, and I didn't think, after Ys 8, I was like, all right, this is like, they've hit peak. Like, they're going to have some downtime for a while, and then they just immediately jumped in with Ys 9 and kept it going.
Yeah, they consistently just put out excellent music. And my one note for this song is, yup, that's Falcom.
I mean, pretty much, right?
Which I don't mean as a dig. Like, I'm not trying to say that their music all sounds the same. They have a distinct sound, and they're really good at it. What is, out of curiosity, Pat, what is the instrument that they're playing in this song? At around the minute mark? Do you know?
I'd have to
really
check
like
specifically.
Yeah, you don't have to answer it if you don't know off the top of your head. I was just saying, like, I was really interested, like, because that when that melody really kicks in, I was just like, oh, that sounds interesting. But yeah, that's a really good song.
That's
I like
sort
it a
of
lot.
my note too. Sometimes talk about music is like, yes, that is Falcom. I think for me,
Falcom.
I think for me, sometimes when Falcom songs come on here, like, they blur together for me a little bit. Not that they're bad, but I feel like I need to play more of the games and like hear them more in context. I don't know if this is an outdoor adventuring battle based theme. I imagine it probably is. So, but I like the energy of it. I like the melody. I like the guitar. So it's a good choice.
Yeah, I like the instrumentation. Maybe I'm used to earlier Ys games, but I'm kind of used to like guitar and strings. So the piano in this was nice. It kind of, I think, helped distinguish it a little bit for me.
Yeah, I think looking at my list, going piano heavy, that might be my thing right now. If you can work a piano in an interesting way, I seem to be drawn to it.
But that's not true of your third song, is it?
Yeah, the guy who's like 90% of his music is essentially piano.
music.
Yep.
Yeah, so Kangao, I think My Heart Belongs to Him.
Mhm.
For people who don't necessarily recognize the name Impostor Factory right off the bat, first of all, what's wrong with you? But second of all, it's the next game, and I don't know if it's officially the last game, but it's like the end of a trilogy for a series that started with a game called To the Moon, which came out about a decade ago. And Kangao was and is just like an indie developer who does it all pretty much on his own. He makes the games, he makes the music. People help with the art assets. He builds his games in RPG Maker, and they're very heartfelt and clever stories. And because Khan is sort of one-manning it in the same way Toby Fox does with Undertale and Deltarune. You can really craft your music to exactly what you want for your story beats, and that's what makes the entire Impostor Factory soundtrack so good. It's what makes all the soundtracks so good. That and Finding Paradise and To the Moon, and there was a side game in there called A Bird Story, which also has a great soundtrack.
Yep.
So Earth or Sky is very sort of representative of the entire soundtrack. In terms of the narrative progression, you first hear it pretty early in the game, within about an hour or so of playing, and you hear it a good deal. There is, as the parenthetical day version suggests, there is also a night version, which is also really good. Yeah, people should just listen to this whole soundtrack. I'm actually penning a review of this one as well.
Oh, good.
And we also have a review of the game up. I think, did Bob Richardson do it?
Bob did, because Bob adores those games.
Yeah, as he should, and as everyone should. But yeah, if you want to get a take on the whole game, Bob's review of the game is totally worth reading, and we'll have a soundtrack review up. But yeah, I really like, as we've noted now, piano-centric music, and Kangao's been doing that for a very long time, and I'm glad he pushes himself with each soundtrack. There's some really interesting stuff that happens at about the 2/3 mark in the game and in the soundtrack, but he's not, he's unapologetic about the fact that, piano is his main instrument, and he composes and generally keeps to the piano then, and I think that's great. Play to your strengths, and that's what's going on here. Yeah,
I can't wrap my head around the fact that I haven't played this game yet. I obviously need to reprioritize my life. It took me a while to play the first one. In my head, actually, speaking of Bob, I always, for some reason, think that Bob got me to play it, but it was actually the other way around. I think it was, we had a reviewer, a prolific reviewer, I would say, Dave, years ago. I think Dave was the one who reviewed it and got me to play it, and then I somehow got Bob to play it, and now Bob's become like the voice of the site, who's like, these games need to be played. But yeah, so it eventually that's my thing, I think, with so many indie games like Undertale and To the Moon. Like, eventually I play them and then realize, oh, I should have played this before now.
I was like 4 years late to Undertale. It's okay.
Yeah, no, I mean, I didn't play the Switch one, so what, 3 years? But anyway, so this one, I really love the soundtrack to the Moon, and it's very simple in a lot of ways, but I don't mean that in a bad thing. Like, he intentionally was going for like I imagine a minimal like soundscape. There's piano, and just some of the main themes in that game just are wonderful. And yeah, but I'm so familiar with the first game's music, and I like listening to this now because I think it's very, very clear over the last 10, 11 years, whatever, that he's just gotten better. Like, there's some sounds to this that remind me of songs from To the Moon. Like, they're, they make you like contemplate, and they're kind of chill and mellow, but they're more refined. I've definitely noticed a progression, and he's just gotten more talented. So,
and they still sure pack that emotional punch.
Mm-hmm.
My first note is, can I cry to this? Check.
Yeah, my note. I can only imagine the context, but I know I will cry.
It's true,
because yeah, I haven't played Impostor Factory yet myself, but I'm really looking forward to doing so because, yeah, To the Moon is
This is
absolutely
a
fantastic.
beautiful combination of storytelling and music that really, really hits hard.
Yeah.
Yeah, those games understand how important that is.
All right. Are we ready for more?
Oh my gosh, who's going next?
Our usual guy who is going to start by saying that he hasn't played 2 of the 3 games that he's bringing music on for. Much like I didn't play Impostor Factory, but you know what? Whatever. I don't have time, okay? I haven't technically played the middle game, but I played the original version. So I wanted to be I wanted to try to go a little unexpected with my choices this year because I had some really obvious ones. I would have gone with Endwalker. I would have gone with one of 3 Nier albums that came out this year, like 2 game soundtracks and an arrange album, and so many other things that I did play or otherwise experience. But I wanted to go a little different. So my first one is a song called Deeplurker from the Ruined King soundtrack, that League of Legends RPG spinoff by, who is it? Airship Syndicate?
Airship Syndicate.
Who did the Battle Chasers game, which I hear is really good. But the soundtrack is by, it is Gareth, right? Gareth
Coker.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gareth Coker, who did the Ori soundtracks, among many other. It's really good. So we'll get to Deeplurker. I also brought Follow Fi or Fee. Do we want to call her Fee or Fi?
I always said Fee.
I always said Fee too.
Okay.
I think the official pronunciation is Phi, but they're wrong.
Okay.
They're wrong.
Okay. Follow Titus.
No.
Wash your clothes with Titus.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I'm getting off topic here. Let's try this again. So I have Deeplurker by Gareth Coker from Ruined King. And then Follow Fi, or the Spirit's Guidance. I'm can't really find a good consensus on what the actual title is. From Zelda: A Skyward Sword HD, which only got a soundtrack this year, and then my last pick is Everyday Life by Lena Raine from Moonglow Bay.
Yay, Lena Raine.
So Deeplurker. So I didn't know anything about this soundtrack musically until putting this episode together. I knew it was out there, and I knew who composed it, and I went and listened to the entire thing. So I'm like, I feel like this is a good choice just because I like the composer so much. And there's a lot of like really notable songs. I guess I don't know a whole lot about the game. I think Hillary, I think you looked up a little bit more that there is kind of a pirate vibe and pirate theme to it, which makes sense because
I
there is
review.
There is some piratey. I don't know why I'm making
the
this
setting.
gesture. A piratey setting. No, I meant like the music.
Well, that too.
So, but yeah, so
R.
I didn't only pick it because this is the closest I could get to, covering Ori on RPG Fan.
It's true.
But no, like on its own, like it's a great soundtrack. And I don't know anything about the game, and frankly, I don't know much about League of Legends because it's not something I've just ever found myself getting into. But the music for this game is great. The piratey vibes, and I'm assuming this is a boss fight, or at least some other,
important battle,
big battle, or dramatic moment. It's hard not. My notes are supposed to say it's hard not to bop your head, but apparently I typed boo.
Gotta boo your head.
Gotta boo your head. But yeah, I mean, it's catchy, it's inspiring. I just like the constant
man.
The music is just constantly like driving you forward. So there's several songs that I assume are some kind of boss fight or something, and even like the end credit song, if it's the end credit song, there's just a really great energy to the music on this soundtrack. So whether you played the game or not, I would recommend checking it out.
All right, I'm gonna go on a rant, like a little bit of a rant for a minute.
Okay.
You know what's really good driving music? Pirate music, sea shanty, stuff like that. It's so good. It's so good for action sequences and things like that. You know what I want more of in games is pirate music. So I was really, really excited to hear this.
Okay, good.
And I love the way that the composer kind of combined that feel and that more traditional instrumentation and kind of sea shanty with his signature percussion and long sweeping notes like you get in Ori. Like, it was a really cool combination of the two. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, it's funny that this game came out like right after I played Darksiders Genesis for review, because it's the same developer, Airship Syndicate, and it's the same composer, Gareth Coker. And Coker, I think, is a really, really talented composer. I mean, just listening to Ori, especially, but he's got this really cinematic quality to his music that I appreciate. And this music sounds like something out of Pirates of the Caribbean. Like, it's got the same tune as, like, I feel like almost that initial sword fight between Will and Jack in the beginning of the first movie. It's very God, I don't even know how to describe it. There's like this back and forth to it that also kind of works for a game with turn-based combat.
Is it my turn? Oh, it's their turn.
I'm gonna say, yeah, I honor and respect that one of the key reasons this is in our Music of the Year is because the Ori games are so good and the music's so good, and we don't cover them on RPG Fan, that through association of the name alone and the composer's credibility, we are now listening to the soundtrack. And I've actually been following Coker for some time. I'd have to go look. I think the soundtrack was called In Momentum, was the first thing I had listened to by him. And that goes back, again, probably about a decade. Yeah, he's a very talented composer, and most people know him because of Ori. I had forgotten about his work on the game that you had mentioned, Peter, but he is something of a powerhouse just in terms of like output. He can put out a great deal of good work. He's gone from sort of indie-ish to like really being on the main scene, and I dig his music. I dig his vibes. He's clearly talented and capable of doing a lot with the tools of the trade. And finally, I will also say pirate music We need more of this.
As long as I'm giving band recommendations, everyone go listen to a pirate metal band called Ailstorm.
Oh, yeah.
They're very funny.
Oh, okay. That sounds
Yay.
good.
Pirate metal is where it's at.
I'm also going to have to check out Darksider's Genesis because I didn't realize he did that soundtrack.
Yeah, and it's a good soundtrack. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have no doubt. All right. Are we going to just keep talking about pirate metal now?
Yeah,
we could, but we should probably move on.
Yeah. Are there pirates in Skyward Sword? No, this is not the right.
No, there is. There's the whole dungeon with the sand ship, and you fight a pirate captain.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah, see? Transitions.
Yeah, I forgot about that boss. That was actually a really cool boss fight.
Yeah.
That's like my favorite dungeon in the game. Like full stop.
As you can tell, I haven't played Skyward Sword since, when did it release? 2010.
Over a decade.
A long time ago. As we mentioned a little bit, and Pat mentioned it like off the air, but Skyward Sword came out in this weird period where Nintendo wasn't releasing soundtracks. Like Twilight Princess did not get a soundtrack release. Skyward Sword didn't. Twilight Princess eventually got a soundtrack release when the HD version came out on the Wii U, which, please, by the way, port that and Wind Waker to Switch.
Please.
But thankfully, Skyward Sword got its HD release this year, and for the first time, it got this huge, giant soundtrack box.
Hooray!
Is it like 5 discs?
I think so. Like I don't.
It's a 5 CD.
I don't physically have it, but in the pictures, it looks like it's about the same size as the Breath of the Wild soundtrack box, which is also gigantic. So yeah, so I'm really happy about that. So this is one of Fi's themes, and we don't need to talk about Fi too much, but I think anyone who's played Skyward Sword knows that she's, as a character and a concept, like I love her. Like I think it's a great idea. I love how they did it. The problem is the gameplay aspect, and in the original version, how much like just tutorials through the whole game, like everything you do. She's like, "Hey, do you want to know about this?" And it's like, "No, I already get it. I do understand that a red rupee is worth 20." I'm glad they toned that down. Like I really need to play the HD one because I feel like I would appreciate her more. Because you don't have that, because if you cut out the condescending nature of her, assuming you know nothing about the game after 40 hours, I'm sure she's way more interesting.
Or don't know the value of your own currency as an adult.
Yeah.
So basically all I'm getting is that Fi was ahead of the cryptocurrency boom.
Oh God.
Master, there is an 84% chance that no, not gonna do it.
Oh wow, I forgot about that. Yeah. Anyway, outside of all of that, I love her theme. Like her theme is just,
she has a beautiful theme,
lovely, and like the original theme, and then this other take on it. And given the importance of wind instruments in many Zelda games, all the Zelda games. I mean, it started back in the first one. But I think it's great that that's the star, of this track and of this theme. It's just beautiful, and it has this like mysterious vibe, which of course works with who she is as a character. I don't know, that was it. I talked too much about her and less about the wind instrument and how it sounds, but I'm sure other people have notes on the song.
Beautiful.
It's beautiful. Yeah, I love it.
It is. No, so actually, it's funny that you point that out, because I also haven't played Skyward Sword in a very long time. I have the HD release, but I haven't played it yet. But this song has been stuck in my head ever since I played it. Like, it still pops up in my brain every so often. Like, I remember this tune. I just didn't really have a name for it. And it's like, yeah, this song is... that wind instrument is so classically Zelda. It's just got sort of that wistfulness to it that really suits like the 3D Zeldas, the kind of music that you were seeing at nighttime, especially in Twilight Princess and Skyward Sword. And even Breath of the Wild's piano music. It's like they've got a certain atmosphere for those kinds of songs. And yeah, this song really reflects that. I really like it a lot.
Yeah, it's expansive. It's airy. I think I also wrote this version of the theme almost makes me want to follow Fi.
For the first time ever, I think I'll follow Fi.
Yes.
I was just going to say, one of the things that I've found interesting about the Zelda franchise, and I've been pondering this for the better part of decades, is after Koji Kondo had started to step away from doing the lion's share of composition with the Zelda franchise, Doing some main themes here and there. But I was always wondering, was there going to be one person to step in? My sense is, for a long time there, it was just a lot of group-based composition. Like they'd get together teams of 3 or 4 people and just, all right, we're going to hammer out this music. And I didn't know if it would work or not. And being able to study the music more easily now that there are official soundtracks out, I felt like on the whole, the Skyward Sword soundtrack is better than I remember it from playing it in game. And what's interesting is that even though there's more than one person working on these games, the fact that they managed to pull together some semblance of cohesion, I always find that really amazing when you can do that with more than 2 composers. And that's sort of my general take on Skyward Sword. And I would say for the follow-fi music, like I don't know who Takeshi Hama is. I don't know the name. I don't know other works. But it's like the Skyward Sword people who wrote the music did a really good job.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Indeed.
All right, so Moonglow Bay. We have this. I don't know if it was me or Hillary at some point several weeks ago accidentally pronounced the game.
Oh no, it was me. I was tired or something and mincing words.
Yes, so I have to really stop and make sure I say Moonglow Bay and not Moongo Blay. So anyway, not to out the thing.
That's
here.
okay.
My favorite film character, Jane Bonds.
Anyway, so I really, this was maybe the first album that I knew I wanted on this episode, but I had a really hard time picking the song because I think the soundtrack to this game, and of course I have not played the game, but I like the vibe of it and the feel of it and the atmosphere that all of Lena's music portrays here. And I like that it's laid back, and I've listened to it, the whole soundtrack, a lot, and I think what I like about it is how cohesive it is and how relaxing it is, and it really lends itself well to just listening through. And again, it's good writing music, or whatever you want to do. Unfortunately, when I started listening to try to pick a song for this episode, I had a hard time narrowing down one song that represented it, because I feel like it really works, listening to it as a whole. So I do love this song. I like Everyday Life. I think it is a good representation of the soundtrack. But I think really what I'm pitching here for Music of the Year is really this whole soundtrack. It works. You need to listen to all of it together is my take on it. So, but it's just beautiful. And if the game does carry through and fit the vibe of this, which I would hope it would be, it's a, relaxing, fishing game and, kind of slice of life kind of thing. I think I will like the game too, but it's got a good vibe going on.
It does. And I really like the twangy guitar they've got going here. It's very folksy and kind of gives it an authentic feel. And I just like how the song kind of soars as it progresses. And like you say, if the context is really necessary to appreciate it, I'm more than happy to give this album a listen, because I really liked this little sampling you gave me.
It's interesting that you chose this one as representative, I think, because I think it was one of the ones for me listening to the soundtrack that's a little bit different, and I think it's because of that instrumentation and that really nice guitar. Because, when I think of Lena, I think of kind of like a chilly, electronic, very peaceful vibe, but a little bit cooler, I would describe, in tone, and this one's a little warmer. But I love it when Lena does that and has acoustic guitar. I like those tracks in this soundtrack. I think that makes it a standout.
Yeah, I'm just gonna go ahead and say twangy acoustic guitar was a pleasant surprise. It's easy when you're following video game music composers for a long time. It's easy to mentally pigeonhole, and I think exactly what you described about Lena, and people may specifically cite Celeste. There's a lot of other work she's done before and after, but she's probably most famous for Celeste, I think. And it's easy to go, okay, well, this is what Lena does. This is her sound. And yeah, this particular track is just oh no, she can do sort of lifelike, a little esoteric acoustic sound, folksy sound, just fine. It's a friendly reminder, and when it's enjoyable, all the more good. And this, I thought Everyday Life is a nice, enjoyable track.
Just a random plug for other Lena soundtracks. Chicory was another one she released last year.
Mm-hmm.
Something that we ultimately decided doesn't really fit our coverage, but also really good soundtrack.
Really cute game. Really good soundtrack. Yes.
Yeah.
I think did AGDQ do a speedrun of that? I think.
Oh,
I think
did
they
they?
did.
Oh, that'd be cool.
I think that was one of the things they ran this past week. We're recording this like at the tail end of AGDQ, which was like wildly fun to watch. If no one else watched it, I loved it.
I didn't yet, but I heard there was a few things that are probably in my wheelhouse.
There were like 10 runs that were very fun and exciting to me. The Final Fantasy 13 run actually is incredible, but sorry, it's an aside.
All right. We are here at our last block.
Woo-hoo.
Yay, Hillary.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yay, encouragement. Should I just go right into my introductions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
Do it.
All right. So for my block, I think I picked some things that sort of have a similar tone. But I picked Forest Kingdom. It's the arranged version by Rosen and Revan from Nier Become as Gods. And then the Sky Temple from ActRaiser Renaissance. And then Harmonious, which is from what might be like a slightly less well-known game this year called Ender Lilies, Quietus of the Nights.
All right, good choices. I don't really know why I do my usual thing of like recapping the songs when you just did it, but yeah, I'm going to do it because I just feel like I need to. So yes, let's go listen to Forest Kingdom, Sky Temple, and Harmonious.
We're ending on a harmonious note,
Yes,
except the bonus track.
except the bonus track.
It's also harmonious, but
It
we'll
is.
get there.
So we're back with Forest Kingdom. So it's no secret, the Automata soundtrack is beloved. It's been arranged a lot. It's really, really great. And this album is also great. It's some arranged music from it. But I picked this particular song because the original in Automata, it's one of the few that really creates an atmosphere as opposed to being just very, very memorable. But I think this version of Forest Kingdom creates an atmosphere that's so grand and so easy to get lost in that I'm not going to forget it. And I love how the percussion, the instruments, and the vocals, they all come together, they interplay, they mingle, and they transition from being noticeable to not, and it all just works very well together. And another cool thing about it is that the arrangers worked remotely with the musicians on this, which I think is just really, really cool that they were able to do that.
Yeah, I seem to recall some guy did a review of this one, and he did a really good job with the review. And part of the reason he was able to was because we had a really good interview on the site. And also, Rosen and Revan did this live stream, release party for the album. And that's archived on YouTube. Anyone can watch it anytime. It's really good if you want to learn more about this work. Rosen's discography is really incredible in my opinion. But the two Nier albums that they've done, Glory to Mankind and Become as Gods, to me are just like some of the best out there. It's equivalent to the official stuff that Square Enix publishes to me.
Yeah, I'd agree.
It's just as good, every bit as good. And I remember Forest Kingdom, they stated that this sort of became their surprise favorite on like when they were working on it. They didn't even realize they would come to like it as much as they did. And I think they had specified in the commentary that there's essentially like 4 different parts that come together on this. You had talked about them working remotely, and I think it was Rosen who said, like, you could listen to any one of these 4 separate parts and it would sound like awesome, like as an arrangement, and then you put them all together and it's just like bam, like better than the sum of its parts. Like Forest Kingdom is like the whole album is good, but Forest Kingdom has sort of like stepped out as like something sort of way bigger than anyone would have expected it to be. At least that's how I felt about it, and apparently that's how Rosen felt about it in his own commentary. But yeah, sorry about being like annoying and cryptic. Everyone that's on this podcast with me knows I wrote a review of this album.
Yes.
Oh
yes,
no, I wouldn't have guessed.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, yeah. It was. I hadn't written a review in way too long, months, maybe close to a year, and this album actually like I had a very chunky wall of writer's block, and this album just bowled down my writer's block. And I've been able to really focus on game music better, I think, as a result of not just this music, but the commentary that Rosen and Revan did in their live stream. So huge thanks to them for that, not just for making the music, but for it being able to speak so eloquently and thoughtfully about their own work as arrangers and performers.
Man, that whole time you were talking, I was so worried you were going to steal all of my notes, because we also watched that live stream, and I'm like, I forgot that part. I didn't talk about I wasn't going to talk about the 4 different parts, but that was really, really fascinating. But what I recall, and maybe if you remember better than I do, because I'm paraphrasing here, but Rosen said something about how he didn't really love this song. Like, the original one is like one of his maybe least favorites on the soundtrack, and he wasn't sure about arranging it. So it was kind of like I guess we'll do this, but he wasn't really excited about it until he got into it, and then it just became this standout. And I think he said it's like now one of his favorites, or at least on this album here, which I think is really a really notable transformation. Like, once he started working on just how his perspective changed on it.
Yeah, and thinking about it, I could be wrong about this. I'd have to fact check it, but I don't think any of the orchestral stuff has covered, like any of the official Nier orchestra stuff touched Forest Kingdom. I could be wrong. Maybe one of them did. Lord knows there's been like 4 Blu-rays, but yeah, I'm not sure that they have. And I think, yeah, given the source material, there's so much more interesting stuff to do on the Automata OST. Why would why would you pick this song? And I think taking it on as a challenge and then making it into something this good is, it's very indicative of their talent.
That's a great way to put it, because like my note for this is I really appreciate how full-bodied this arrangement is. And Nier already has a very rich soundscape, but this is able to take a song that is pretty, I wouldn't say it's like low key on the soundtrack, but it really like takes that and adds like that extra layer to it.
Okay, so I don't own every Nier album, but I do have almost 300 songs in my formerly known as iTunes app. And you are right. The only Forest Kingdom that at least I have is the original
OST
and this version. That's amazing. I didn't actually realize that.
I'm amazed that just off the top of my head, it could be on one of the Blu-ray performances that wouldn't be in your library per se, but other than that, yeah. I knew that it wasn't on any of the like arranged CDs that was out there.
Yeah.
So go Rosen.
Yay.
And Revan.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that basically explains exactly why I wanted to spotlight it.
Yeah.
So yay.
Good choice, Hillary.
Thank you. All right, so moving on to Yuzu Koshiro and ActRaiser, which is also a beloved soundtrack by me. It's had a lot of love recently. Wayo Records did release of the OST and some of the symphonic work that's been done on ActRaiser before recently, and someone reviewed that.
That was you.
And yeah, hit me.
Sorry.
Yay!
But yeah, I love this soundtrack. It's a weird mix of action and kind of contemplative. And one of the most notable things about it is Koshiro really pushed the Super Nintendo to its limits sonically to try and get an orchestral sound for the original game, with different instruments. And so with Renaissance, he kind of had an opportunity to go back and enhance that and kind of show what that sounds like with more, greater capacity for different instruments.
Yeah, without those restrictions.
Without those restrictions, exactly. So Sky Palace, I think, benefited from that a lot, which is why I picked this particular track. It's like full organ, very grand sound. I think I described it as like full organ, pretty much Baroque epicness. I love I love the softer section that got added, if I'm not mistaken, for Renaissance after the organ, because I think that just really elevates this and kind of makes it sound like a full classical piece with different movements that still sounds very mysterious and grand and a little bit more ethereal. So yeah, I like it a lot. It makes it sound more like a sky palace, like you're floating above everything.
Yeah, my singular note for this song is "Aw yeah, pipe organ," which I think about sums it up. If I'm being honest here.
This really takes me back. Like, I almost wish for our Games of the Year feature we had a biggest surprise, because like suddenly giving us a remake of this game this year, I don't think anyone was expecting.
No, absolutely not.
And then all the new music, but hearing this song, any of the music, but like we're here to talk about Sky Temple today, or Sky Palace. But like hearing this song from like decades ago in this more orchestrated style, it's just I really liked it. It really emphasizes the like what you're doing in the game, like literally flying around the world in a sky palace as a god, demigod, whatever you are, with your little angel buddy. I don't know. It really fits.
Watching over everything.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the kind of like the majesticness, or however we want to describe it. I think all of that really actually did come through in the original game as best as you could do on Super Nintendo. It's one of those ones where I actually went back quickly and listened to the original one, because I think it's one of those cases where, you've listened to a song and decades later, in your head, maybe sometimes it sounds different, or like to me, hearing this song now is maybe how I remember the original. So like I had to go back and listen to compare. It's like, oh no, it's completely different, way more, a richer and fuller sound. But I just imagine this is maybe what he originally wanted to do with it, and the intent of the original song.
And it is cool to go back and see like how much he hit the mark getting
Yes.
that sound, or at least an approximation of the sound, so that we could really fill it in with our minds and imagine that lush orchestral sound.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you talked about the like pushing the Super Nintendo to its limits, because it's a very early Super Nintendo game.
Mm-hmm.
It was early in the console's lifespan, and there were different ways that, from like a sound programming perspective, they were able to push the console further and further as the years went on, all the way till they got to like the compressed vocals of Tales of Fantasia.
Right. Yeah.
But even for, what was it, 91 or 92 release, like there is some obvious pushing of the technology as far as string ensembles go, getting more depth to it so it didn't sound too like grainy or ultra compressed. And yeah, I think the original version was always impressive to me. And I always forget about Sky Temple, like from a gameplay perspective. Like you don't have a lot of reason to spend time in the like sort of menu area where that occurs, that music plays. But the song really, even so, is still very very representative of sort of the majesty of the whole game. And the Renaissance OST is really fun and really awesome in all respects. I think Sky Temple had a lot to gain from having a more lifelike
Sure did.
pipe organ. That was probably, like, if you compare that to like Fillmore, or like what's the first song in Northwall, like the really pretty snow one. Like, you look at that in the Super Nintendo, it might be. If you look at those in the SNES original version, it's like, oh yeah, like those really hold up. I thought Sky Temple in the old Super Nintendo one was like the only one that like, yeah, it's good, but I can take a pass. But in Renaissance, it feels very fitting. It also reminds me of some of the more, I dare say, like churchy or cathedral-esque tracks from the Etrian Odyssey franchise, which Yuzo Koshiro did.
Yep.
Okay, yeah.
So, yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Okay, I'm gonna end with a question on that one. Why is all the quintet heaven music so foreboding?
Well, I think we know, if you follow the plot lines to those games, I think we know the answer.
Well, yeah. I just wanted to playfully say that.
But I bet a lot of people listening and playing games today don't know, because those games are hard to come by and have never been re-released.
Terranigma.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, that's really the one where that comes into play.
Yeah.
All right. So we're winding things down a little. My last track is Harmonious from Ender Lilies, which is a game I haven't played. I have passing familiarity with it. My interest was piqued because it got compared to Valkyrie Profile. And because just visually it's really pretty, so I started listening to the music, and this track just really stood out to me because of how well it kind of matched the themes and the visuals. It's a very, very kind of dark atmosphere, lots of violence, and the main character is supposed to be kind of mysterious and kind of like a point of light in that environment. And I think this song kind of captured that pretty well, but it's still quite haunting. Like, it's got charm, but you also get kind of a sense of finality or fleetingness to it. It also it just gave me some haunting Ghibli vibes, which I liked. And I like the use of vocals. Like, it was a little bit surprising, a little bit, when I think of like RPG tracks where there's humming, you think of it just as kind of like straight melody, kind of pretty cute humming, and they use that a little bit differently here. So I liked it. I wanted to spotlight it.
Yeah, the humming and the breathing really adds character. Like, again, I don't know the context for this song, because really this is the first I've heard of the game. But it is a very, very intriguing choice.
I'm glad you noted the breathing, Peter. That was like, I had that in caps in my notes. That it isn't just humming. You can hear the sighing or the exhaling, and that's like, that makes me think of more clever use of vocals. Like there's a handful of tracks in like some of the PS2 generation Atelier games and Artanelico that did this, but for the most part, it's hard to use it to do it effectively. I think the Valkyrie Profile-esque vibe of this game makes it absolutely fitting. And I too haven't played the game, and now am very much wanting to play it.
Yeah. And another notable thing about the track is the way it uses silence. Silence is pretty prominent in this song. There are some interesting spacing and, well, room to breathe.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I knew about the game and saw a little bit of it, but it was more on my radar because we're actually recording this the day after our Games of the Year feature went up, and in our individual awards, Dez wrote a whole thing about this game and compared it very clearly to Valkyrie Profile and how it's helping ease the fact that we don't have a third game or a fourth game yet in the series.
There isn't a weird spin-off.
Yeah. So now it's on my radar more because I have very strong feelings about the first Valkyrie Profile. But anyway, for this song, the music, I like the first, I don't know, I think it's about the first half or so, the music and then the voice and the breathing and all that, I feel like it trades off between them. It's almost like they're having a conversation with each other. And then as the song progresses, they come together in more of a harmony. At least that's how I heard it. So I thought that was a really interesting way of putting this together. And it's just, I think the best way I can describe this, and from what I've seen of the game in general, is just the phrase hauntingly beautiful. So I think this was a great choice. I'm going to listen to more of the soundtrack now too. So
I kind of picture this as Hell's Moving Castle if the war had actually happened and destroyed everything, and there was one person who was trying to rebuild and was hopeful. Maybe something like that. I don't know.
I feel that.
Hey, if you really get into it, your songs do have more in common, at least the games and thematically. If that's the idea behind this game,
destroy everything and rebuild it.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to talk spoilers on Automata, but some stuff happens in that game.
Ooh, well, that was not intentional, but I guess that's the mood.
That is a mood. Zach will be very pleased.
It's also very ActRaiser, so it does fit on
Yep.
very.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
You go to each continent, you use natural disasters to clear fields, and then you kill demons, and then civilization can pop up. All right.
Yes.
Or if you're horrible, like a friend of mine in Colorado, you bug your villagers with natural disasters.
You'll rebuild. That's fine. Have some more lightning. All right. We're just about the end of our time here. So I think that was a really fun collection of music.
Yeah.
So let me
it was fun.
Let me run through our wrap up here, and then of course we have a bonus song. So we'll have one more good song from this year at the end. So thank you all for being here. This was our Music of the Year podcast. It will be going up on the site probably before the rest of our Music of the Year feature, but please do look forward to that too on RPG Fan. For Rhythm Encounter in the next few weeks, our next episode is going to land exactly on Valentine's Day. So we thought we would do an episode about love themes or romance themes. So that's going to be a fun thing to talk about, I think. And then at the end of the month, we haven't done a composer episode in quite a while. So at the end of February, we're going to have an episode on Kumi Tanioka.
Yay!
Speaking of great piano players, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I know I've said we're doing this episode before, but I'm almost sure after that we're doing a episode on the Final Fantasy Pixel remasters, depending on when Final Fantasy VI comes out.
Today is going to be announced that it got pushed back again.
No. I know. The last time I mentioned that,
it was
after we
of.
recorded, it was announced that they moved the release date back. But they said next month. So if it comes out next month, we can do an episode the month after that. So that's the plan. So if you have thoughts on this, if you want to share, some of your Music of the Year ideas with us, I'm going to give a quick shout out. I'm not going to talk about everything, but I do want to give a shout out to our listener, Mohammed, who tends to email us and give us suggestions and feedback. So I did read your email. I will reply to you probably before you hear this, but thank you for that.
I'm glad you enjoyed West of Loathing music.
Yes. So thank you. But if you also want to email us and let us know what you think, you can reach us at music@rpgfan.com. We would love to hear from you. If you want to see the track list for everything on this episode is on RPG Fan. It's in your podcast app. If you go to the post on RPG Fan, you can find links to places to buy and listen to all of these albums. So please check that out. If you want to get in touch with me personally, you can reach me at mike@rpgfan.com. And then we're going to go through Hillary. How can people reach you?
I am EP Fire on Discord, and I will be checking that regularly. And I'd love to hear your thoughts on music of the year or game music in general.
And Pat.
I'm pretty active on Twitter. My handle is Gameadactyl. It's like pterodactyl, but with a game up front. That's really the best way to get in touch with me.
All right. And Peter.
As always, you can find me at I Have Fury on Twitter. You're also able to email me, petert@rpgfan.com.
Awesome. So if you enjoyed this episode, make sure you also check out RPG Fan's other podcasts. We have Random Encounter that comes out every other Monday. That's our general show, and I think this comes out after Games of the Year. So I think our most recent episode of Random Encounter would be our Games of the Year episode. So check that out. We also have Retro Encounter, which comes out every Thursday. That's about retro games and game journals and, other stuff in the meantime. Like our most recent episode, which had nothing to do with RPGs at all. But if you want to hear people talking about Hollow Knight, check that episode out too. So if you enjoyed this, we would appreciate if you could subscribe and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, any of that support there goes a long way and, just helps us, reach more ears. So, and that's about it. So Pat, you have a bonus track for us today.
Yeah. This is a song called Truth Revealed, based on the song that I think the old translation was just called The Truth. From Vagrant Story, which I was shouting about for TPR to do an arrangement way earlier in the show.
Woo!
This arrangement is by Josh Barron and the Ethereal Strings Project on their new album Kaleidoscope, which is a focus on two composers, Masashi Hamauzu and Hitoshi Sakimoto, this being a Sakimoto track. So I think by the time this podcast episode is up, there will also be a review of Kaleidoscope up, so you can read more about the whole album. But this track from Vagrant Story is another one that I was sorely tempted to fit in my 3 songs for music of the year. But since I got to throw in a 4th one for bonus track, it's got to be this one. And what did you say about being hauntingly beautiful on that track Harmonious?
Yep.
I think y'all are going to hear it in the bonus track. This is another hauntingly beautiful one.
And thank you for bringing that album on because, it deserves a mention.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. All right. Sorry, what was the track name again?
Truth Revealed.
Cool.
From Vagrant Story.
All right. We're going to go out with Truth Revealed from Vagrant Story / Kaleidoscope. So again, everyone, thank you for listening. And all 3 of you, thank you for being here. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Yay!
Luna, get down.
Oh, hey, Luna.
If you hear her meow, you may have heard her meow in the microphone for a second earlier. I'm sorry, I was trying to scoot her off the table.
I didn't hear.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Luna. We don't have any lunar music for you today.
She's like, it's okay. I will forgive you this time.
Just once.
Just once.